Yeah, thank you, Marcel. It's really a pleasure to be here at the first Digital Euro Conference. We as EY are active member in the Digital Euro Association, and we have also been an initiator for this conference. So I'm really pleased to be here and to kick off the third section of our today's conference, talking about wholesale and commercial bank money. Which I think is an important topic which we did not cover so far very much. So the idea was to introduce you to a concept which has been widely seen and addressed around the globe, which is the regulated liability network. So we tried to get Tony McLaughlin here. So he gave birth, let's say, to this concept. So unfortunately, he can't be here. So I stepped in and will introduce you to the concept, since we have also been involved in the idea. So when we look at the different forms of money which we have discussed so far, so we have on the one hand side central bank money, and on the other side we have, let's say, private money or private programmable money. We can discuss the topic. So, and we discussed a lot about stable coins, but if we look at commercial bank money or deposit or tokenized deposit, then commercial bank money still makes out 60 to 80% of the payments we use today. So, and if we think about, when I ask someone, how much money do you own? We don't think about how much cash I have with me. So we always think about what's the balance on my bank account. So, and that is commercial bank money. So it's the biggest part of today's world of payments. So therefore, it makes sense to have a closer look at how we can improve commercial bank money, or do we actually need to improve commercial bank money? So, and what are the current issues with the current payment infrastructure when it comes to commercial bank money? And I think we discussed this already earlier in this conference a lot. We know about the G20 initiatives to improve this infrastructure. So there is a lack of efficiency in certain aspects, sometimes not domestic, but internationally. So we have things around operating hours, so we don't have a 24/7 infrastructure globally. So we have, of course, a lot of pains around reconciliation. There are pains in cost. If you have cross-border payments, there's a high cost. So, of course, you can think about, do we need to improve this infrastructure to make it more efficient, to use the technology we have in place, DLT technology. So if we would have such an efficient or a better infrastructure, so what could we do with it? So there are, of course, existing use cases which we could enhance. We talked about cross-border payments, domestic payments, but of course, if we have an programmable type of money, if we have an increased efficiency in our payment infrastructure, then of course we could also support new use cases, specifically on the wholesale side. So we could have everything around IoT devices, machine-to-machine payments. We could have different type of commercial bank money tokens. So the use cases, if we would have such an efficient infrastructure, would be very wide and very innovative. So now the question is, what is this new infrastructure? How could it look like? So, and therefore, I just want to read out a statement which Augustine Costens gave about 4 weeks ago. So Augustine Costens as the head of the BIS, when he said, but how are we to take full advantage of these technology, superior forms of money? This is where the unified ledger comes in. CBDCs and tokenized deposits would appear in separate partitions in the unified ledger because they share a common ledger. They can be brought together and used in an efficient way through smart contracts. This would facilitate inclusion and lower transaction costs. And this is basically what he referred to as the concept of the regulated liability network. So the regulated liability network introduced in 2019 by Tony McLaughlin is really the idea to build an FMI, operate as a shared ledger, which includes regulated liabilities. So we heard about at the beginning from Dirk Schrader. So we have central bank liabilities, but of course we have commercial bank liabilities and e-money. So the idea is to bring these forms of money on a shared ledger so that we can interchange these forms of money at par value, which is, I think, a very important concept. Because when I think about this, the question is, when become 100 euros 100 euros? It becomes 100 euros because you can go to an ATM and convert your commercial bank money into central bank money. So the mechanism that you can convert commercial bank money into central bank money is an important feature. So now think about a world where we would not have this on a shared infrastructure. We would have basically 10 banks issuing a certain type of money tokens or coins, and they would not be in a shared environment. You could end up in a situation where maybe the tokens have different values. So, and imagine you are an international corporate, want to do transactions, and now you want to transfer money from bank A to bank B using their individual tokens, and you have different values of these tokens. So, and I think this would end up in a difficult situation. So therefore, it's really, the concept is really important that you always have the interoperability between these type of regulated liabilities. So this is the whole concept of RLN. So if we look at a little bit from a schematic view how an infrastructure could look like, it's basically you would have in a shared ledger, you would have a partition of the central bank, and you would have the accounts from the commercial banks. So if from a corporate from bank A wants to transfer money to a corporate which is connected to bank B, you would have at the same time atomic settlement of the transaction through a simultaneous update of balances, not just on the bank side, but also in the central bank partition. So this would allow RLN to become really a settlement layer for settling central bank money and commercial bank money in the same environment. So therefore, there are a couple of key building blocks which are described in the paper. So RLN, and the whole idea is RLN to become a public-private partnership. So to bring both worlds together, to form a regulated network, it should be a global network. It should be based on DLT, it should be multi-currency, multi-asset, and it should be multi-network, and it should, of course, support programmability. So, and what would it bring us if we would have such a network? It would always be on, so we would have 24/7 settlement possibility. It would be secure and resilient. It would be full audit trail. It would have on-chain finality of settlement, which is the important feature I just explained. We would have liquidity optimization, so we will not have different silos where we need to keep track on liquidity. It would be real time and a single source of truth. So basically, this is the overall concept of the regulated liability network, which has been discussed in the white paper I will show at the end. So this concept has now basically gained a lot of interest around the globe. There's currently an investigation phase in the US where 8 banks came together with the New York Fed innovation team to do a pilot. So this phase has been completed. So we expect the reports of this pilot to come out very soon. We have interest groups in Australia. There are people looking into it in the UK, in Switzerland, Hong Kong, Singapore, and also there's an interest in Europe as well. So, and I think the beauty about this is everyone is basically working on the same concept. So it's not like everyone has his own concept and trying to bring this together. It's the same white paper they are referring to, and it's the same mechanics. And this is the good thing about this, because Tony published this publicly. So there's a website called regulatedliabilitynetwork.org where you can download this white paper. There have been many key contributors to this white paper, not just banks, also PSPs and a network. operators. It's basically open source. It's not published under the city logo. It's a common or it's a joint effort from the whole industry. And it's still not finished. Of course, we know there will be probably variations going forward, so it's still open for discussion, and all of these groups which come together around the globe will contribute to this concept. So that's the reason why I like the idea. Okay, having said that, I think it would be good if you download the white paper to understand what this is all about, and yeah, thank you very much.